Insurance agents, do you find yourself needing more companies to quote your clients through? Are you using aggregators or cluster groups and find yourself waiting on middleman underwriters for approvals on your quotes? Do you want direct access to more insurance companies without the slow, painful appointment process and heavy production requirements? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Insurance Professionals was built especially for you. Insurance Professionals offers agents instant access to top national home, auto, commercial, and life carriers. Our free multi-rater allows you to quote all lines of insurance with one data entry process, and quotes are available instantly. Our program provides direct carrier access to agents so there are no middleman underwriters to wait on. Simply quote your insureds with our free multi-rater, pick the quote you want, and use your own credentials to log in and bind directly on the carrier's website. Our carrier selection includes Travelers, Nationwide, Kemper, Encompass, Clear Cover, Chubb, National General, and more. We charge no upfront or monthly access fees. Get started today at becomeaninsurancepro.com. That's becomeaninsurancepro.com.
All right, I am here with Paul, the VP of Sales over at Hawksoft, and Rushang, the head of marketing over at Hawksoft. Hawksoft is so one of the partners of this show, the Insurance Connector. Hawksoft is the official client management system of the Insurance Connector. We're really happy to have both of you guys on here today. I have been a Hawksoft user for I don't know. It must be going on like 15 years now that I've been familiar with your guys' system. So I'm personally real happy to have you guys on. I appreciate your time being here, and we're excited to get the word out on Hawksoft. And I think it's appropriate to start. I was at a conference in Orlando 3.5 weeks ago. And sitting there at lunch, and I got this agent from Hammond, Louisiana, sitting next to me, and we're having this conversation. And I was, we're like, well, what are you doing after this? And you guys were there, and he goes, well, I'm going to go over to the Hawksoft. You guys had some kind of segment for agents to attend, and he goes, I'm going to go over to the Hawksoft thing where we're thinking about switching from insert competitor name here. I won't list them on the air, but he's like, and we're just not quite sure, if it's going to, if we're going to do it or if it's going to make a difference. And we don't know, how to use it or anything. And I'm like, well, I've been using Hawksoft for like 15 years. And he's like, well, what do you think about it? And I was like, well, I had it when I was an agent at an agency, and then we owned an insurance agency and we used it for that. And now, we have like this, market access group style thing. And we keep track of all of our agents in it. And we love it, and it's really functional for us. And he was using this other competitor, and I said, well, I've looked at that person before. I've looked at that company before, and to me, and the kind of the feedback I've got is they've got a whole bunch of bells and whistles that I would never use. And so the price difference between what I'm getting at Hawksoft and what I'm getting there, it's just not worth it for me. And then he's like, well, what do you guys pay? And so I dug through my email and I pulled up the last invoice and I showed him, and he about passed out. I think he was paying over triple or quadruple for the same number of seats that we have right now with this competitor. So again, thank you for being here. I think this is good stuff for our agents that are our listeners here to hear. So let's start with how did Hawksoft come to existence? Where did it all begin?
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and one that still motivates us. We're 27 years old at this point. We got our start in '95. Even being a 27-year-old company, the origin history of Hawksoft still motivates us to have an entrepreneurial mindset, even though we're not a startup. But the argument is that we're probably the oldest startup around because we still retain the founders' thinking. So the company began with an insurance agent who saw a need. He was working in an insurance company, Paul Hawkins. He saw an opportunity and need to automate old workflows and processes and to digitize a lot of things. And his son, Sean Hawkins, and his son-in-law, Jason Hansen, were computer whizzes, and each was in various stages of college, and they helped build the foundation of Hawksoft. Sean Hawkins and Jason Hansen. And the company has grown organically, very organically since then. It's word of mouth, like we were talking about earlier, users asking for, hey, this is a great idea. How do we expand on this? How do we automate this other thing? And from there, it's got its start in non-standard auto in the PL side, and it's since transitioned really nicely into the commercial side. And we do both, and we do them well. It's always been super focused on how the agent operates in the office. So, for example, we have the underpinnings of Hawksoft are based on this feature called Action Menu. Right. And what it is basically the thought process that an agent undertakes anytime there's a case to service or a phone call that comes in. And that's what the Action Menu is based on. So the logical flow of the software, as you, Abe, know, using it, is based on how an agent thinks and the workflows they go through. Right. So I think that's where it was imperative that an insurance agent built it versus an outside company coming in and filling it.
No, I 100% agree with that. It's action phone from insured or action email to insured. It's like, well, what'd you do? You can just put that down. And that's what, so when we had our agency, we you guys have some great training videos and things of that nature available, online. Right. And, but what we did for our agency with how we used Hawksoft is we put together, I want to say like a 5-minute tutorial with we just recorded our screen and said, here's how we do things. Here's where things are located. Here's how you attach stuff. Here's how you send emails. Here's how you attach emails, respond to them. And it was 5 minutes. And when somebody got done watching that video, they were ready to go start using Hawksoft. And then, the other things that we did and the more technical features, they learned as they went. But yeah, 5 minutes and they were up and running on how to, and I understand I've only really used Hawksoft. I've tried probably 2, maybe 3 other agency management type of systems. And they confuse the living daylights out of me, but that's something that's fairly unique, I think, about Hawksoft too, right? Is the ability to get up and running in a very short period of time.
Yeah, we definitely try to. Before I came to Hawksoft, I was an Allstate agent for many years, and then I went out and started my own independent agency. And I was with a competitor. The funny thing is, I actually looked at Hawksoft briefly, and then I ended up going with a cluster group that kind of forced me into one of our competitors. And years later, I still couldn't figure out how to use that system. It was just so difficult to use, and you kind of mentioned sometimes you have all this fluff that a lot of times sounds great. It looks great, but it's not deep enough. It doesn't really do all I need to do. It checks a box. It sells a system for them, but it doesn't really help me as an agency. It doesn't make me productive. It didn't really help me, but it's just hard to learn. And then you finally get it, and then you have somebody else come. You're growing, you add staff, and you're going to try to teach it to them. Yeah. And it's so difficult. And I think that's one where Paul Hawkins, really hit it out of the park, developing a system that's easy to use. And, it's the mind of the agent. So but it still definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, that's the cool thing about, so that's one of the things that I hate is you'll start using a program and then, they'll just as you start to get the swing of things, they'll do an update, right? It's like, now I got to relearn it. My daughters are trying to teach me how to use Instagram. I have no idea how to use Instagram. and they're like, so one of my daughters goes, I sent you a message on Instagram. Do you know how to check it? And I said, well, it's that little paper airplane thingy that's up there, right? And she's like, you still have a paper airplane thingy? We got to do an update. And I'm like, I don't want to do an update. I don't even know how to use it now. If we do an update, I'm really, but what I'm trying to get at here is the cool thing about Hawksoft to me is that when I started using it 15 years ago, the action button is the same. The homepage is the same. The suspense list of what I got to do today and the priority levels that I can set them on are the same. And while there's been features added and there's been, things to keep it up to date going on, the functional use of how I log in and do things every day has been the same every single time on the thousands and thousands and thousands of times that I've logged into Hawksoft and used it, it's all the same. So to me, that's a huge plus, is because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel every single time there's like something to update.
It's a good point, Abe, and especially in the world we live in with cloud-based architectures and cloud services, you're absolutely right. Because the barrier to change something is so low, people will change it without thinking about, wait, how is this impacting folks downstream that are actually living in it 8 hours a day?
Right.
So we are very sensitive to that. You're absolutely right. Like the underpinnings, like you're talking about, are very much identical to, maybe the look and feel may have changed in terms of that's a rounded corner, or, the colors are different, but the workflows are all the same. And in fact, that's one of the things we are very mindful of. How many clicks does it take to accomplish something? We like to always tout that your data, any data you're looking for on a client, is 3 clicks, 4 clicks or less.
Right.
And we hold that as a yardstick on anything we change from a user experience standpoint. Did we make that worse, or did we improve it? So that we're very mindful of that, especially in the era we live in, where you can make a change on a web page very quickly, and that can drastically impact someone's productivity.
It is something interesting, with Hawksoft. Abe, you've been with us long enough to know that, we're in the middle of a very, very substantial change, the architecture and everything else. And our architects and the development, they've likened it to, rebuilding a 747 while it's in the middle of the air, because we want to maintain that look and feel. We don't want to somebody have to, get the update and they look at the system and they go, I don't know how to do it now. Now I got to start all over. So it's very important. In sales, it's good and bad, because we'll tell people all the time, if you're looking for a sexy system, keep going. We're not it. We're not a sexy. We're about getting your job done, getting you home to your families. That's not. We're not about being the flashiest out there. It's all about productivity and getting the job done that you need to do at a reasonable price. And so, there's been some kind of fear we'll get done with this major update. And I think some people will be like, I was expecting, this totally different, and it's not going to look totally different. It's going to be the same for the exact same reason that you pointed out, is that agencies, they need, if you're bringing on staff again, that you don't have the time to go out and learn a new system, even if you have the exact same system. It's got to be familiar to you. And like you said, over time, we add things, we'll change a little bit here and there, but we try to do the improvements at a pace that the average person, again, can just keep up. They don't have to, talk to their daughter and say, hey, how do I use this thing? Because we know that the general age of us insurance agents, and we're not young folks, so it's got to be simple to use for insurance agents. Otherwise, no one's going to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that was what I was, talking to the guy at lunch about at that conference was, I said, I've looked at other systems, and they have so many bells and whistles and features and all these things that I'm looking at through the sales process. And I'm like, I'm never going to use any of that. You know what I mean? I need to log my interactions with my client. I need to be able to see policies that we write as we write them, and either, insert them if it's like a surplus or excess, or they download, if it's somebody that we're writing on standard carriers or whatever. And I need to be able to, set reminders, to have things automatically generate. Because that was one of the big pluses with us when we had our agency, is for the life of me, I couldn't get anybody hardly to set a renewal suspense. Just set the renewal suspense. So that way, if we don't get the download or whatever, it's there, right? All you got to do is every time you insert a policy, well, then lo and behold, there's this little feature in Hawksoft where you can create a rule that every time you insert a new policy, that it automatically sets it for however many days. I forget how many days. We calculated out 11 months or 11 and a half months or something like that, however many days that is, to set a suspense. And then we generated what was in that suspense. And so then we didn't have to rely on people to do that anymore. And just, those were the kind of things that we were looking to do with our agency management system. I'm not looking to, try and take over the insurance world with my AMS. That's different job of a different department. But here we want to, have permanent record that's unalterable, that, is just, it works. And that was the nice thing, is, after using that system. I think your guys' training video was the only one that we really never had to update, because we always made this joke, like, we'll do a training video for this carrier, and as soon as we push that carrier live, they're going to do a revamp to their system, and it's going to look totally different. And then we got to do a new video. And so it was like, chasing our tail all the time. But I don't think we ever did an update to your guys' video. So that was really cool. Tell me about the purple cow experience and where that came from. Because I see this giant purple cow down here, or down there.
We've got a awesome, obnoxious purple cow. If you've seen it at trade shows, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
The genesis of this idea, we give credit to a gentleman who's well known in the business circles as Seth Godin. He is a marketing guru. Has a lot of experience starting up his own companies, consulting with companies, being a speaker. But I learned of Purple Cow from then, and I brought it over to Hawksoft when I joined about 7 years ago because it impacted me. It was such a simple concept, but radically changed how I thought of things. And for those that haven't read any of his work, Purple Cow, the analogy that Seth gives when he's explaining it is, imagine you're driving down a country road. Mm-hmm. You see, you're driving past livestock, and you see a group of cows. And if they're all the same color, if they're all white, they're all brown, they're all white and black, you're not going to stop and take a picture because it's something you've seen over and over again. But let's say you saw a cow that was purple. You're going to park on the side of the road. You're going to pull out your phone, take a picture, and instantly throw that on social media and say, look, guys, look at this cool thing that I saw. So the analogy in business is anything you're doing as a company, whether you're selling a product, having an interaction with someone by phone or email, you're selling a service, what can you do to make that a purple cow experience? Yeah. And what's meant by that is make that an experience that's remarkable in the truest sense of the word, worthy of making a remark about. Just like in the example of sending a picture off because you saw something that was really remarkable. So it's our motto as a company because it forces every department and every role and every player in the company to say, in the role that I'm at, what can I do to deliver a purple cow experience and whatever my role is? Yeah. And it has really radically changed the outlook of the company and our employees.
Yeah, I think from the sales team, I'm in a very enviable position, and I credit Paul Hawkins for starting it and Rushang for continuing it. But we don't. Last year, my sales team made a total of 0 outbound sales calls. Every customer that we get has been referred to us or they come to us. And to me, that's a result of that purple cow experience. We try to make in every interaction we have, mostly it's going to be through product support, but sometimes somebody will never have a product support problem. So it's through our sales, through our training, whatever it may be, we want that person to walk away and say, wow, that was really awesome. Mm-hmm. So that like you're talking to somebody that's sitting at a table, you're with your peers, whatever, and they say, who are you using or why, I'm looking around, and then that our name pops in their head. Yeah.
And our sales team, Paul's team is a great example of this. Starting from the first point of contact, we are not salespeople. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally, we are not salespeople. We are people, relationship people. And we even said it, I think, Paul, it was a query that came in just last week about, someone wanting to explore other systems, and they'd been with Hawksoft for a very long time. Our response to them was, look, we want you to make the decision that's best for your agency. And we know you being a leader of your agency are going to look after your staff. So that whatever decision you make, we are okay with. We still think that Hawksoft is the best decision for these reasons. But if you decide to go somewhere else,
we'll hang tight on your data, so that way when you come back,
we'll be ready to catch you. No, which we are for sure. Yeah, but even if you decide to leave, quote, in a worst case scenario, we still have earned a relationship with you forever.
Yeah, right. But that was another thing that really, bouncing off what we're talking about support, right? That was another thing that I basically only really being a Hawksoft user. I guess I was spoiled the entire time, and I never really knew. that this was something that was special. But sitting there at lunch, we're having this full conversation, and he asked me, well, what's it like when you call and you get support from Hawksoft? And I said, you call 1-800 number, and then you go to a website and they give you a code, and then you punch that code in, and then, you allow them permission to take over your screen if you want. And then they go through and they show you what you want to do, or they'll show you how to run a report, right? They'll show you, kind of where the trouble spot is, and see what the issue is. And then it's done and it's over. And he's like, well, how long do you have to wait on hold? And I was trying to think. I'm like, I don't think I've ever waited on hold for support ever. And he was like, what do you mean? and so, but I guess the system through his agency management system, client management system, was that you would go onto this website and you'd submit a ticket and you'd wait for a call back. And there was like different, priority levels or something like that. Now everybody probably knows which system I'm talking about, but but anyway,
that's out of the bag now, Abe.
I let the cat out of the bag, but maybe, I don't know. There's probably more than one company that does this probably, but there's like this urgent level ticket where it's like, we're frozen. We can't do anything. Our agency management system is non-functional and we cannot operate. And when that ticket was submitted, he's like, I've had to wait for like a half a day, hours, to have somebody reach out to me. I can't call them. They got to call me. And I'm like, that's never happened to me. And I've never waited for, and I was like, maybe there's like once or twice that I'm not thinking of or something like that, but it wasn't significant enough to be in my memory. Right. So how do you, I guess probably building a good product that really doesn't require, tire changes every 50 miles or something like that. Like that's probably step one of, not having a flooded support team. Right. But how do you guys do that to where you're able to have all these agents across, how many agencies across the country you guys working with right now?
We're just north of 3,000, I think.
Yeah, just 3,000 agencies, okay. 20,000 users.
Sure. Yeah. So you got 3,000 agencies, 20,000 users. How many support people do you guys have on staff?
It fluctuates, but I don't know the latest count. I know it's at least 20, I want to say.
Okay.
I think it's higher than that. I think
maybe
it's
higher than that, right?
Probably maybe 30, 40 would be my guess.
So 30, 40, that's a good start on not having, but you think about those numbers and stuff like that. Like, I think that's probably a good testament of the system too, is like, you got, 3,000 agencies, 20,000 users, and you've got, 30, 40 people handling phone calls, and you never really have, do you have a time where people have to wait on hold? Does that happen, or has it just never happened to me?
It happens. We do monitor average hold time. We monitor average handle time. There's like an entire dashboard.
Sure.
And we keep track of this, but this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about Purple Cow.
Yeah.
Because we've bought into a service mentality, how can we be of service to people and how can we hit a home run every time we do? That compels us to do things like overstaff, or when we see hold times creep up, that compels us to invest in the product support side more and say, no, let's bring that back down. Because we would, if the tables were turned, we would hate to be on hold that long. Yeah. Right. And so that's no way to treat our customers. So we're going to overinvest in that. Let me kind of back up to probably a more seminal moment in Hawksoft's history. About 8 years ago, like in high school, we all go through this where you have you're in that phase where you're trying to figure out which group do I fit in? Right? Who am I? Your identity crisis stage. And so Hawksoft about 8 years ago had this stage where we were kind of at a fork in the road, where we could choose to continue down a organic growth path that's measured and controlled and something that we feel good about, just like we've been doing for the last 20 years at the time it was.
Yeah.
Or we could go out and get outside funding, investment, and try to hit this hockey stick growth chart. I don't think one path is right and one is wrong. That's not the point. I think the point is that both paths are very different, and the sacrifices you have to make on each path are very different. And so we had to go through that identity crisis to say, Hawksoft in the first 20 years was organic growth. What do we want the next 20, the next 40 years to look like? And we all chose almost unanimously that we wanted to continue down the slow measured path because, and this is the seminal part, we understood that if we went down the hockey stick growth path, we would have to sacrifice on things like the amount we can invest in the service and the quality of people. And so we didn't want, that's, again, it's not a right or wrong thing, but that was right for us. The decision we made was right for us. And so we wanted to focus on the service side. And so we chose the measured growth path.
Sure.
Some of that too is the, that measured growth allows us to hire excellent people. So all of our product support people, US based, they're smart people. They're good. They're good people. I mean, you know, after getting off the phone with them, they have positive attitudes. And I think it starts at a high level. Paul Hawkins will say all the time how the Lord's blessed him to surround him with good people. And that becomes from, you know, hiring practice. Make sure you're hiring good, solid people. One of the things I learned when Rushang started with the company, I think he said to me one time that you fire quickly or hire slowly or something like that. I can't remember if that's what you said, Rushang, but I took that to heart, because if somebody's not going to work, just cut it and move on. Find that good people, and those what you need to run your company. And so Hawksoft, we pay good wages. It's not cheap. It's not cheap at all, but it shows in the customer service. So you have people who truly love their job. They love coming to work. And when you call somebody on the phone, you can feel that. And, you know, I'd give that advice to any agency owners. Hire good people, treat them well, and they will treat your customers well. And it just becomes a circle. Those customers have been treated well. They've had a purple cow experience, you know, especially, you know, at the agency level. People talk about insurance all the time. Who do you have? You know, they'll complain, oh, I got a rate increase. Well, who are you with? You know, if they've got that positive experience on their mind, they're like, oh, I'm with, you know, Abe Bowling, his agency. Those referrals are way better than going out and trying to cold call and trying to bring people into your agency. So
such a high close rate.
Hire good people, treat them well. You know, one thing we kind of skipped when you asked one of the first questions, what's our story? That's kind of Rushang skipped over a little bit, but knowing your story as an agency level, know your story. If you don't have a story, figure it out. Who are you? You know, develop a story. And, you know, people buy on emotion. There's times where we buy things because we need it. Your washing machine breaks or something like that. But when you're not buying something that you have to buy, or you're buying a commodity, people will buy on emotion a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So make that a positive emotional experience for people. And if I'm choosing between agency A and agency B, and this agency seems to really love what they do, and they've got a cool story of why they do what they do, you know, I'm going to go with them versus just this agency that's just like, I'm transactional. And that isn't everybody. And I think you got to be okay with the clientele that you get. Maybe you want to be transactional, because some people are just, I buy insurance because the state makes me, and that's it. Other people want to be protected. They want to know when they go down at night, sleep at night, if something happens to their home, their auto, you know, the family, whatever it may be, that they're protected. Those people are going to be buying more on emotion. They're not a transactional person. They want to be protected. And, you know, having that story is really important, I think.
Yeah, I 110% agree with that. Because, yeah, that's your identity in business, right?
Yep.
No, that's really cool.
And it kind of goes back to, it's no different than how agencies function. If you don't give an insured who's comparing agencies nothing else to compare you on except price,
yeah,
well, then that's what they're going to compare you on.
All right.
And so what is that plus value to your agency? What is that story? What makes you unique? What have you done for the community? What is it beyond just the commodity part of what you're selling? Because we all sell that, right? Even management systems, 80% of the features across management systems are the same. Right. How we do it, how we approach it, the workflows, that's the 20% that's different, that people from a product standpoint latch onto. Outside of product, like Paul's saying, what is the story? What do they stand for? When they have a year of profit, where is that money being invested in the company? That's what makes that 20% difference, I think.
Yeah. Well, and we have an office manager that spent the first 13 or 14 years of her insurance career with a really large agency, and they did not use Hawksoft. So when we brought her up to speed, that was one of the function. The comments that she had made was the function of going kind of skipping back here a little bit, how many clicks do you have to take to get to where you need to go? And it was like, man, you dive into these rabbit holes. You got to go over here, click over here, back into this screen. And that's just not the case with Hawksoft. So with that being said, with the functions that you guys have that are pretty much industry standard, right? I mean, you probably got a couple things here and there. The workflow, like you said, is the big difference. With you guys being able to keep up with all these functions and do all this stuff, how are you guys able to keep the price point comparatively low to what the industry has out there right now?
I think I say to people all the time, and it's kind of a joke, but Hawksoft is 100% work from home now. So we have a very large office there in Canby, Oregon. So this
for sale.
Yeah, we got to figure out what to do with the building now, but it doesn't work anymore. But I say, when I look out the window of Hawksoft, I see pickup trucks and Hondas and Toyotas. I don't see Mercedes and BMWs. And it goes back to Paul Hawkins started the company to help the insurance agent. And I'll tell people all the time, they'll kind of laugh in my face or whatever, but we're here to help the agent, not to make a profit. We make enough profit to continue to grow and to progress and to add features to the system. But we get startup money, or we get offers for startup money like all the time. People want to invest.
Yeah, you do.
They get turned down. Oh yeah. My office was right by Paul Hawkins, and daily he would get calls from people wanting to, throw very large amounts of money at the Hawksoft's way. And every time it was a no, not interested, click. And it's because he cares about the insurance agent. His profits come second. Profits probably, what he said, Rushang, probably come third or fourth. He really cares about the employees first, our customers, maybe profits then, like I said, third or fourth. And it shows in the company, and that's not just something we throw around. And every time we get a new employees, they're kind of, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I know. And then usually 3-4 months in, sometimes, with tears in their eyes saying, you guys really believe this? This is totally different. We hear this is different from any company I've ever worked in. Every time we talk to new agents or to new employees. And so it's difficult. It sometimes requires tough decisions. It requires prioritization. There's a lot of things. You talk about some of these bells and whistles that some of our competitors have. That there's probably not a one of them that we don't want in our system, like a fully developed functional thing. But you've got to do measured growth. When Rushang talked about, we made that decision to organically grow. You've got to be very disciplined in what you build to your system. Another thing Rushang says all the time, and Rushang, you correct me when I blow this up, but the most important word you'll say is no. The most important decision you say is no. It's what you say no to that really matters, because you've got to be very disciplined in what you add to the system, how you hire, just everything to do to keep that price point low.
Yeah.
And I think we're very clear on what we're good at. Let's not make stories and castles in our own minds. We are a very good workhorse, just like you mentioned, right. Dave, consistent, predictable. You come into the office day over day and you know what you're going to get. We're not going to pull the rug out from under you. We're very good at policy management. We're very good at tracking activity and log notes and logging every single thing. So you have a complete 360 view into that customer. And this dovetails really nicely into how Hawksoft views partnerships. We call them coalitions in the industry, and how we view our API integrations. We know that we're going to hit a home run on the policy management side, but we're not going to be as good as some of these other players that have a business around, let's say, CRM, or let's say marketing automation. And so instead of us trying to go learn that and rebuild that, let's get better and better at what we do good, and let's partner with other companies through our API and bring them into the fold and be a coalition that we can work together and offer a complete platform to our customers. So we understand our role is just like a basketball team, right? If I'm the point guard, I understand what my role is, but I understand that I'm going to lean on my other partners in this coalition to be an all-star in their roles too. And together we're going to lift the entire industry. It's not just Hawksoft.
Well, then it's handy too, right? Because as an agency owner, I could be like, all right, obviously need Hawksoft, right? Check. And then, these other partnership options, like, do we want this one or this one or this one, or which makes sense for our situation? So you're not paying for a bunch of stuff that you're not using. And going back to what you guys were saying about, the first 20 years of growth, right? When the agency that I started off at, the very first one, they had just switched to Hawksoft right as I came on board. And they had a different system before that. But, that was what our owner of our agency had said is I was able to call Hawksoft users. Just give me a list. You can pick anybody you want and call and, get opinions on how this is. And everybody said it's awesome. And then, so after we came on with Hawksoft, she was like, yeah, of course you can use my name and number and put me out as a referral for agencies who are looking at Hawksoft. And then we got phone calls at our agency from people that were like, how is it? And I was like, dude, it's awesome. And one of the things that I was going to say is we had an employee, super unfortunate experience. It was really, really sad. But we started doing the remote work before COVID hit. So we were kind of prepared for it when it did. But the remotely, when you're monitoring your employees remotely, and I have no idea, maybe this is a function that other, agency management systems offer, but your activity report based on your user, right? So we know how long it takes in the industry to do things, right? Whether it's a change on an auto policy or it's a phone call from a client. Sometimes, this person didn't do those type of functions. It was purely administrative. So we knew how long each task should take. And shame on me as an agency owner for not looking into this sooner. But we were starting to get concerned with the amount of time that this individual was putting in remotely, and the amount of tasks that we had given this person. And so we went and pulled activity reports, and I think I went back a year, and it was like $10,000 in hours that this person had clocked with us and not actually worked. And I guess part of it too was like before that, maybe I didn't really think about activity reports in that, serving that function, because like an activity report to me, it was like, oh, I know on this date that I did something with this client. So I can go run an activity report for my login, and I can, figure out which client it was around this time of day I talked to them or whatever. But there's a lot of functions in there too, that could save you a lot of money, especially with people working remote. So that's kind of cool. What are you guys have you launched your cloud-based program yet, or is it getting ready to launch, or where's it at in the process? Tell our listeners a little bit about like what that's going to look like for Hawksoft.
Absolutely. No, it hasn't launched yet. We're getting ready, gearing up for it. We have a dedicated webpage where if people want to follow along on the journey, we have a roadmap, a visual roadmap. You can see where we are on the journey. Yeah. If you go to hawksoft.com/6, the number 6, okay. We're calling it version 6. The cloud-based platform is coming in 2023.
Okay.
It is hosted on cloud technology by Microsoft Azure. And we had to strike a very delicate balance. I mean, Paul mentioned it earlier. It's like flying and rebuilding the plane at the same time, right?
Right.
We want to make sure that we don't pull the rug out from under our users and give them something entirely new that they have to relearn. And oftentimes what companies do is they make you pay again for that new product. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure your existing subscription can roll through into this new technology that's powered by the cloud. So our approach to cloud is a little bit different than what other companies mean when they say cloud. When we say cloud, we mean the data is hosted in the cloud, and it is going to be served to you eventually in the best experience possible on the device that you're using at the time. We're kind of envisioning people going into this world where it's less relevant now to say, oh, build me a web-based, a browser-based management system because I'm going to be on the road on my laptop. Well, then what about Susie back in the office that spends 8 hours behind a workstation, right? So what we're trying to do is say the data's in the cloud. If you're sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours, chances are the best experience for you is going to be a dedicated app running on your computer.
Yeah.
right? And so for that person, you're going to continue to have the Hawksoft app. The difference is the data is being served from the cloud. Now that you change the paradigm here and you have someone that's out in the field, chances are they don't want the entire footprint of that app on a laptop. They may want to pull it up on their mobile phone or their tablet. Say they're a commercial producer and they're out there in the field. Well, then we're going to build you browser-based interfaces for that consumption. But maybe the trade-off there is that you don't need the entire footprint of data entry. It's more a consumption device where you're looking up data more than you're putting in data. Maybe you'll jot in a few notes. So we're trying to make it device agnostic, so it's going to be the best experience depending on the device that you're using. But all of that data is going to reside in the cloud, and it's going to be served from the cloud.
It's perfect. That's so that's coming summer 2023.
It's going to come in 2023. We have a little bit of a staged approach to it. When we launch it, it's going to be available first to new agencies because they have less of a data footprint on our servers for us to migrate. So it's going to be available to new agencies first. There's going to be a quick follow, basically allowing us to scale what we've released to new agencies to support the data migration that's going to be required for all the existing agencies to move from the old technology to the cloud-based technology. So it's a two-pronged release, and we're aiming for 2023. Yep, to get there.
Nice. That's cool because I know that's one of the priorities that we have within our business is, now that people are spread out literally all over the world, that makes a big difference of, having that physical server in one location and the maintenance on it and just so much easier to just operate everything out of the cloud if we can get everything there that we've got sitting on that server. Anything I missed that, excuse me, you guys feel like is worthy to note?
I think we briefly talked about it, but when you're looking at management systems, a lot of times we'll tell people 80% of the functionality is exactly the same. You go throw a dart at any one of our competitors and they're going to do roughly the same thing we do. How they do it may be different. There's that 20% that maybe differentiates, and Hawksoft has some really neat features like the HawkLink browser, some of those tools that kind of fall in that 20% where none of our competitors have, that kind of differentiate us. And I imagine some of our competitors have some features that we don't have. But we always tell people that 80% that you need to run your business, that's what you worry about. So at the end of the day, ask yourself what it is. Who do you want to partner with? Who are the people I'm partnering with? Because it's almost like an insurance agent. Again, agent A and agent B, when you're looking at an independent agent, they're both going to get you at the same spot. At the end of the day, you're going to have a home and auto policy, umbrella, whatever you need with them. Who do you want to do business with, though? Ask yourself that, and that's the question you need to ask yourself. And then another route that we took a couple years back that I think is going to really start paying fruition this year and then the next is our partners. So I think Rushang, touched on it a little bit. We decided that we were not going to be experts in everything because you can't be. You can be, a master of or the jack of all trades but master of none. We've decided to be masters at the core functionality of an agency and then go out and partner with our API. And we just released our two-way API so we can share data back and forth between our partners. We've got some, I don't think we can talk about it just yet. Rushang, you stop me if I can, but we got a really cool partnership with one of our partners, some functionality that's going to be coming out very soon. That's going to fill a lot of the holes, some of the functionality that we don't have in Hawksoft that somebody else does really well. And we're like, let them be the experts at it. Let's both work together. And this partner, the same way, they're happy to take their expertise and partner with our expertise. And together, I think we become stronger. The great thing about that as well is if that doesn't work for you, choose another partner. That when some of our competitors, it's nice that they've got this all-in-one system that looks great until that one functionality does not work for me. It just does not work for my agency, or it doesn't work. I don't like it, whatever it may be. Too bad, you're stuck with it. Whereas with Hawksoft, you try CRM system, whatever, and that doesn't work for you, try another one. That doesn't work, try another one. Phone system, that one doesn't work, try a different one. So we really went out and said, let's let the experts be experts in their field, and then let's work with them, because together we're better for the insurance agency. Another thing, and Rushang, I'll let you talk about it a little bit, is we want to make people aware, just because so many aren't aware of that, is data ownership. Who owns the data? Who has your data? And is it being held hostage? Things like that.
Yeah, that's been an initiative of ours. We actually did a webinar with ACT on this topic, and we're trying to spearhead this. The waters have been muddied about who owns all this rich data that's in the management system, and that's about an insured, right? Mm-hmm. And we know it's a complicated topic, but what we're trying to do from our humble kind of vantage point and the role that we have to play is clarify not only what Hawksoft's stance on it is, which, by the way, is we don't own that data. It's right in our terms and conditions, section 8.2. We even have
very clearly
state that we don't own it. We view ourselves and our management system as custodians of that data for as long as an agency is using our system. And if an agency, decides to move on at any point in time or try something else, that data is yours. We do not hold that hostage to any fees. And we want that same level of clarity by all insurtech vendors, not just management systems, but come out clearly and state, what is your position? Who owns it? Are you mining that data and selling it? Be very clear about these things, because the waters are very muddy and people no longer know what's happening to all this data. We have these great things like API integrations, and you could build an insurtech stack of, 7, 8 partners deep. But at that point, you're very confused as to what's going on with your data. So let's bring some clarity in that. And then Hawksoft challenges any API partner that we partner with. We don't have an open API in the sense that vendor X cannot just come and say, we want to sign up to use your API. We don't do that because we respect that data doesn't belong to us. That's our agency's data. We can't just bring anyone else on. We have to curate them. They have to go through a process. They have to be vetted. And we got to make sure that they're being honest in their terms and conditions and transparent. Only then do we put them on our API partnership program, because we feel like we owe that to our agencies. And so bringing that level of transparency to all insurtech vendors out there, that's been a mission of ours, and we're still very early on this road, but we want to get there eventually.
That's really cool. That is cool. Well, we are going to put the link in the description of this podcast, and then we'll also, of course, be on YouTube on the Insurance Connector channel. So we'll have the video that you can go on and watch. And so we'll put the link to go over. Rushang, you sent me that link. What happens when an agency fills that out?
What you're talking about, the Hawksoft 6?
Oh, no. So the link, does it get them a demo or getting them in touch with when they go on and fill that little form out?
Got it. Yeah, that is a demo request form. It's going to go to one of our Paul's team, one of his territory managers, and they will be reaching back out to that agency.
Perfect. Yeah, we're going to link that up, both of the descriptions of the video and the podcast. And I think that's the best place to start, right? Get a demo, see how it works, see what works for you. I'm guessing obviously pricing is going to be available on that demo, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
another thing too, when you reach out for a demo, we don't want to be salespeople at all, and we want to be the anti-salespeople. And so there are many times people reach out to us. The first call with us, we want to understand what their problems are, understand about their agency. There's maybe 5 to 10% of the time we'll say, I don't think you're a good fit for Hawksoft. Maybe try some of this other, another management system. And we'll tell them why. Here's why we don't think maybe a good fit. We're not about sticking people in a system that's not going to make them happy. We are not going to hound you over anything. If you say it's not for me, we'll say, all right. If your mind changed, reach out to us. It's nothing like the used car experience. And if anyone ever has that, you reach out to me, because I want to know. We'll stop it immediately. But
that's so funny that you mentioned that, because going back to my lunch at this conference, right? sitting next to this other guy, and he's like I said, he's from Louisiana, and he goes every time he said they call me all the time, and I'm like, I don't think Hawksoft has ever called me. I mean, like, again, maybe there's like one or two times where it happened and it's not registering here. He's like, shoot, those guys call me every 6 months, and every time I pick up the phone, they want $10,000. I was like, yeah, that's definitely never happened.
Definitely not gonna happen.
100% can guarantee that has not happened to me.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Paul, thank you. Rushang, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys' time. And I hope that the agents listening here go on and check out that demo, because, you know, either way it pans out for your agency, I know you guys won't regret it. But thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Abe. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.